Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a little something that's going on in EU right now, and that is the development of a shit ton of super teams. Now obviously roster mania has been going on, it's been in the off season, and there have been a ton of announcements going on in the last few days especially. So I wanted to talk about a couple of these first, and then maybe have a think about what these new super teams present in EU are going to look like, and like really who's going to come out on top. Because I don't know. So obviously most of the teams have been making some changes, but the four main teams I want to look at are Rogue, Vitality, Virtus.pro, and G2. So let's start off with what are the changes that Rogue have made. Well, firstly, Ryze is out and Leongid and Karjeka are in. Ryze actually made a pretty in-depth tweet longer about his reasoning for his mutual departure from the team. It's well worth a read. Basically what it comes down to is the fact that yes, Rogue, they were doing pretty well, but they had a pretty terrible run at SI. They went 0-2 in their group, didn't make it through the group stages, of course, and after that, he and the team each kind of had their own ideas as to what they could do to improve, to get better, and they just didn't really match up, and it got to the point where it seemed like it was the best idea for him to leave. As for the two players who've been brought in, Leongid, of course, he was the IGL for Team Secret, and he's pretty known for having very strong leadership qualities. He's a very good player. Well, he's especially representative of the UK scene, but I think most people in at least European Siege know who he is. And of course, Karjeka came from the amazing Team Empire. They have definitely had their ups and downs in the past year, but I don't think anyone can deny the skill that he brings as a support player. Moving on to Vitality, of the four teams that I'm talking about today, this is the team that made the most recent announcements. Brude and Stiggy are out, and Fabian and Ryze are in. Now, of course, these were announcements that really shook up the scene. Of course, we can't forget that Helby, who was the coach for Team Secret, has also been brought in as well. Now, Virtus.pro are an interesting one because they actually haven't made any changes to the roster or even the support staff as far as I'm aware. They just got picked up by this new organization. Virtus.pro, they were formerly known as Fours, and now Fours have a different team. G2 haven't actually made any big changes since the changes they made just after SI, other than the fact they released Fresh as an analyst. He's gone to Chaos now. But other than that, nothing really of note. It's just this is a team that you can't discount for one of those top spots. So if we look at G2 first, they actually look exceptionally strong, even though they haven't made any recent changes. Citizen and Virtue have had plenty of time to situate themselves, mesh within the team, find that synergy. They needed a little bit of time, and obviously with the loss of Fabian, regardless of whether or not that was a good thing, a bad thing, it's still a big change that the team had to kind of overcome and get used to his presence not being there anymore. Now, that's certainly not to say that G2 did poorly after they made these changes, because that's simply not true. They came second in Pro League. But the point is they've had this extra amount of time to get used to those changes, whereas a lot of these other teams who have only just made changes in roster mania in the off season, they are going to require those few weeks of synergizing, which G2 no longer have to do. Rogue obviously needed some kind of change that was going on. They did exceptionally well in Pro League. They ended up coming out on top, first place, but their run at SI was nothing short of embarrassing. Going 0-2 in the group stages and being knocked out virtually immediately, something was going wrong. I think the loss of Ryze gives them an opportunity to recenter their philosophy, both in-game and out of game, align everything up, and the onboarding of Leongid gives them the opportunity to have that stronger leadership, as well as some more flexibility. Karjeka, coming in from one of the most revered teams in all of Rainbow Six, gives them that kind of veteran presence, but also know you're getting a very, very strong support player, and that's going to help enable those players like Aces, like Corey, like Rips, who are going to be able to do what they do best even better. I think injecting an already dominant roster with this glue that's going to provide so much cohesion is going to make an already scary roster look incredibly more so. The thing that we want to be looking out for is the continuation of a mental fortitude that's going to keep them at the top, because if they can kind of have holes picked in their armor and have the mental side of things be brought down, I think that's where their potential weakness could be. So that's going to be the big thing for Rogue. Virtus.pro evidently looks strong. They did just win the EU Open Clash. Now obviously there's a lot of questioning as to how much teams were taking that seriously. We are very, very close to the beginning of the EU League, and so no one really wants to give anything away too much. So you kind of have to take the EU Open Clash with a pinch of salt. But from everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard, this team, even if they weren't taken entirely seriously, looked terrifying. Their aggression was second to none. Their ability to just kind of run in and gun people down and not second guess themselves was terrifying. And even if they weren't playing at their best, that's still something that the teams are going to have to be aware of going into the real thing in a week and a half, if that. Oh my god, it's so close. I'm so excited. I think the real question here will be how one-dimensional they are, or whether or not they have a really strong strategical background, because if the other teams can start to catch up and outshine them and sort of catch them off guard because they know what to expect from them, especially as there are very, very good gunmen in other teams, you know, is that potentially going to be the weakness of Virtus.pro? Throughout the course of Pro League Season 11, the teams seem to be improving just week on week, so I'm very reluctant to say that they are going to be one-dimensional and they are going to be really easy to beat, and I definitely think that they will be a top contender. I think Vitality have the most to gain from the potential changes that they could have made. They came 6th in Pro League Season 11. They weren't particularly outstanding, and a lot of that came down to the fact that they lacked the leadership and coordination that other teams had in spades. The onboarding of Fabian is going to be nothing short of a really, really big boon to them. We've seen what that man can do for other teams. His presence on G2 was just, I mean, I don't even need to put a word to it because everybody already knows. And it definitely shows that the team know that that's where their weakness lies and that's what they want to invest into. Now, obviously bringing on Rise as well, he'll be able to work alongside players like Bibu and make that kind of front line so much more terrifying, because they'll just be so much more intimidating, you know, from the entry. The important thing is going to be they have to be open to this new leadership, open to making changes, open to criticism, open to essentially having quite the overhaul, because I think of these 4 teams, this is going to be the one that's going to be experiencing something like that to the greatest extent. But if they are open to those things, give Vitality a couple of weeks to synergize and to get used to one another, I think this could be a very scary team. What do I think is going to happen? I think either G2 or Rogue are going to be in that top spot. I'm really tempted to say Rogue. I think the fact that there's going to be a period of early improvement for Rogue, which means we can safely assume that they're not right now at the best that we will be seeing them. And the question is, how much further on is the best of Rogue actually going to be? And did G2 have something up their sleeves which is going to keep them in, you know, an actual contention for that spot? I think right now Virtus.pro are looking stronger than Vitality, but these changes to Vitality are very fresh, very new, and because I think they are more inherent, they're more deep to the core of the team, it's going to take a little bit more to make those really important changes. It's going to take a little bit more time. So I think Vitality are going to be this team that, you know, give them a couple of weeks. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll come out the gate and they'll just be insane. But I think given the nature of the changes that they have made, they're going to require a little bit more time, and then they're going to look at their absolute peak. And once we get to that point, well, God only knows what that's going to look like. I did a poll on Twitter saying, who do you think will be, I said, who do you think will the scariest team in EU heading into EUL? Feel free to suggest a different team. G2 came out on top with 30.7% of the vote, followed by Rogue with 27.6% of the vote, then Vitality at 22.1%, and Virtus.pro last at 19.6%, which is interesting because obviously they came first in the EU Open Clash. So it seems like there's no definitive answer. It says a lot about the kind of talent that we have available in EU, that it's so good right now that there isn't some real top spot like you kind of see in NA, where it's very, very top heavy. You've got SSG and TSM at the top, and then it's sort of like drops off precipitously. Either way, I'm very excited to find out. Let me know what you think of these new super teams. And of course, don't forget, this is entirely speculative. EU League has not started yet. And really, we have no idea what's gonna happen. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you did, and I will see you soon for more content.